In December 2024, Keanu Reeves sat down with CBS News and said something that stopped millions of fans in their tracks. When asked about John Wick 5, the 60-year-old actor admitted, "My knees right now are saying I can't do another John Wick." His heart wanted to return, but his body was telling him a different story. But that's not all. Earlier that year, while filming a comedy with Aziz Ansari, a simple slip on a wet floor cracked his kneecap in a way he described as sounding like a potato chip breaking. The man who spent decades defying gravity on screen, bending bullets and dismantling armies, was now confronting something he couldn't fight his way out of: the toll of giving everything to his art. And it gets even messier, because the physical pain is only part of the story. Behind that calm smile and quiet dignity lies a lifetime of loss that would have broken most people 10 times over. Here's where it really explodes. Keanu Charles Reeves came into this world on September 2, 1964, in Beirut, Lebanon, and chaos found him before he could even walk. His name means cool breeze over the mountains in Hawaiian, poetic and beautiful. But there was nothing poetic about his childhood. His father, Samuel Nolan Reeves Jr., a geologist with Hawaiian, Chinese, Portuguese, and English ancestry, walked out on the family when Keanu was just 3 years old. By age 13, Keanu saw his father for the last time. No goodbye speech, no explanation, just silence that stretched across decades. That's when everything unraveled. His mother, Patricia Taylor, an English costume designer, carried the family through constant upheaval. From Beirut to Sydney to New York to Toronto, they moved like refugees chasing stability. Along the way, Patricia cycled through multiple marriages, each one ending in another broken promise. Keanu and his younger sister Kim watched stepfathers come and go, never staying long enough to become family. Things went downhill fast. Home wasn't a place for the Reeves children. It was a series of temporary stops, suitcases always half-packed, walls never familiar enough to feel safe. School offered no shelter either. Over 5 years, Keanu attended 4 different high schools. Dyslexia made every classroom a battlefield, where letters refused to stay still on the page while other kids surged ahead. Teachers mistook his restless curiosity for defiance. One principal actually expelled him for asking too many questions. He later admitted, "I questioned everything too much. I couldn't help it, even if it got me into trouble." It spirals from here. Because when you're labeled a difficult student, you're really just a kid desperate to understand a world that keeps shifting beneath your feet. The one sanctuary he found was the ice rink. As a goalkeeper, Keanu earned the nickname The Wall for his lightning reflexes and unshakable composure. He dreamed of playing professional hockey, maybe even representing Canada at the Olympics. For a boy with no permanent home, that dream gave him identity and purpose. But this next twist? Game-changing. At 15, a devastating injury ripped that dream away in an instant. The only stable thing in his life was suddenly gone, teaching him a brutal lesson he'd learn again and again. Anything you love can be taken without warning. The real chaos starts here. With hockey gone, Keanu turned to the stage. His dyslexia made memorizing scripts grueling, but the camera didn't demand speed, it demanded honesty. He scraped together odd jobs, appeared in small Canadian TV shows, did a Coca-Cola commercial with the desperation of someone proving they belonged. Armed with nothing but a battered Volvo and a name most people couldn't pronounce, he drove to Los Angeles chasing a fragile hope. Brace yourself for this one. He rented bare apartments, stretched every dollar until the cupboards went empty, knocked on doors that rarely opened. Casting agents studied him with puzzled expressions. Was he a leading man or just another drifter with good cheekbones? Then came River's Edge in 1986, a bleak indie film that revealed a soul wrestling with shadows far deeper than anyone expected. Critics noticed. Whispers began that this awkward Canadian kid might actually have something special. And then came the bombshell. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure in 1989 turned him into a phenomenon overnight. Millions fell in love with the goofy, time-traveling Ted. But what felt like triumph quickly became a cage. The Airhead label clung to him for years, as if Hollywood had decided he was too light for darkness, too simple for tragedy. He later confessed, "I craved something lighthearted, but that label stayed with me for years." Here's where the truth hits hard. Even success had teeth, and every cheer carried its shadow. During this period, he crossed paths with someone who would change everything, River Phoenix. They met through River's brother Joaquin and quickly formed a brotherhood that went beyond Hollywood friendship. You won't believe what happened next. To convince River to join him in my own private Idaho, Keanu hopped on a 1974 Norton Commando motorcycle and rode over 1,300 miles from Toronto to the Phoenix family's ranch in Florida, script in hand. That's the kind of loyalty Keanu showed the people he loved. River agreed to do the film only if Keanu was doing it too. They made a blood pact on that movie, creating something raw and authentic that neither could have done alone. This part left everyone stunned. For a boy who'd grown up without a stable family, River became the brother he'd always needed. Now here's where it gets insane. On October 31st, 1993, Keanu's world shattered. River Phoenix collapsed outside the Viper Room in Los Angeles and never got up. He was only 23 years old. A toxic mixture of cocaine, morphine, and Valium had stolen one of the brightest talents of his generation, and Keanu's closest friend. Keanu was filming Speed with Sandra Bullock when the news came. Sandra later recalled what she witnessed. "I watched how Keanu grieved, and oh, did he grieve for his friend. He's very private, but he couldn't hide that." It turns darker from here. Years later, Keanu still can't speak about River in the past tense. In a 2021 interview with Esquire, he caught himself and said, "It's weird speaking about him in the past. I hate speaking about him in the past, so I almost always got to keep it present. He was a really special person, so original, unique, smart, talented, fiercely creative, thoughtful, brave, and funny, and dark, and light. It was great to have known him. Miss him." 30 years later, the wound remains open. But listen to this. Fate wasn't finished with him. In 1991, while Keanu's career was gaining momentum, his sister Kim was diagnosed with leukemia. She was only 25 years old. Here's where the mask falls off. The man the world was starting to celebrate as the next big thing became something else entirely: a caregiver. According to multiple reports, Keanu sold his home to move closer to Kim. He rearranged shooting schedules, turned down roles, and spent millions on her treatments. When the pain got unbearable, he sat beside her bed and held her hand through the darkest nights. Kim later told Woman's Day, "Keanu helped me so much through my illness. When the pain got really bad, he would sit with me and hold my hand and keep the bad man from making me dance. He was supporting me and comforting me all the time, even when he was away." And it gets worse. For 10 years, Kim battled the disease while Keanu lived between the blinding lights of Hollywood and the sterile corridors of hospitals. On screen, audiences watched him become Neo in The Matrix, bending bullets and defying destiny. Off-screen, he was a brother in a thin hospital chair, reading aloud through endless nights while fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The Matrix sequels were reportedly delayed because of his dedication to her care. This is where it all falls apart. Because while fighting to keep his sister alive, he was about to lose everything else. In 1998, at a party for his band Dogstar, Keanu met Jennifer Syme, a luminous woman who worked as an assistant to director David Lynch. Their connection was immediate and profound. For a man who'd spent his life with suitcases half-packed, Jennifer represented something he'd been chasing since childhood: the possibility of home. By 1999, she was pregnant with their daughter. And then, total chaos. On Christmas Eve of 1999, their baby girl Ava was stillborn at 8 months. The nursery they'd prepared stood silent. The tiny clothes folded in drawers would never be worn. The crib waited in vain. Friends recall Keanu's haunted stillness in the aftermath. Not screaming, not collapsing, just silence. The suffocating silence of a man whose hope had been torn from him before he could even hold it. The loss destroyed them. Within weeks, Keanu and Jennifer separated, though they remained close friends. But things were about to explode. On April 2, 2001, Jennifer died in a car accident on Cahuenga Boulevard in Los Angeles. She was 28 years old. The woman who had been his glimpse of family and future was gone. Keanu was one of her pallbearers. Those who watched him at the funeral saw something that still haunts people who were there. A man hollowed out by grief, carrying the weight of the casket and the unbearable truth that half his heart was being lowered into the ground. Jennifer was buried next to their daughter Ava. Here's where it really explodes. In the space of 18 months, Keanu lost his unborn child and the woman he loved. Some losses don't heal. They become permanent residents in your chest. It gets worse. While grief carved itself into Keanu's soul, his body was paying its own price. What most fans don't know is that he almost lost the Matrix before it even began. When the Wachowskis asked him to train in Hong Kong-style martial arts for 4 months, Keanu said yes without hesitation. But listen to this. He was secretly dealing with a degenerating spine. Years of stunts had taken their toll. He had a bulging disc, a fractured disc, and was losing feeling in his legs. On the Art of Action podcast, Keanu finally revealed the truth. My spinal column was being sausaged, basically, so I had to have a 2-level fusion on my spine before training, and they put a plate in my neck. Here's the part that's truly remarkable. But I never actually told anyone because I didn't want to tell anyone I wouldn't be able to do the film. I had to train for the Matrix in a neck brace. This next part? Straight up wild. That's why Neo punches more than he kicks in the first film. Keanu physically couldn't perform kicks after spinal surgery. He built an entire fighting style around hiding his injury. The punishment continued across 3 more Matrix films. Then came John Wick, starting in 2014, when many of his peers were fading into cameos. And that's when the tables turned. What began as a revenge thriller became a global phenomenon that demanded everything Keanu had left. He trained with live firearms until his fingertips blistered. He threw himself into judo slams and jujitsu locks until his shoulders burned. He rehearsed gun fu sequences with obsessive precision, day after day, week after week. Producer Basil Iwanek admitted, "Making these films is so exhausting, and it destroys Keanu, physically and emotionally. By the end, he's always like, I can't do this again. The guy is just a shell of himself because he just goes off and goes for it." By John Wick, Chapter 4, the toll was carved visibly into his stride. Knees worn down by years of punishing impacts. Tendons stiff from decades of punishment. The real chaos starts here. Then came the incident during filming for Good Fortune, Aziz Ansari's comedy. A simple cold plunge scene, a wet floor, a wrong step. Keanu described what happened. "I was doing the cold shuffle in this room that had protective carpets down, and then there was this little pocket, and my foot got caught in the pocket in the shuffle, and then I went down, but my knee didn't follow. The sound? Like a potato chip cracking. Things went downhill fast. A dance sequence had to be postponed for months while he recovered." In December 2024, sitting across from CBS News, Keanu delivered the words no fan wanted to hear. "You can never say never, but my knees right now are saying I can't do another John Wick. My heart does, but I don't know if my knees can do it." That's when everything unraveled. The man who seemed unbreakable on screen was finally acknowledging what his body had been telling him for years. Here's where the mask falls off. But here's what makes Keanu Reeves different from every other story about a star brought low by time and injury. He hasn't become bitter. He hasn't retreated into isolation. Instead, he's done something remarkable. He's transformed his pain into a philosophy of kindness that has made him, according to countless accounts, genuinely beloved by everyone who works with him. After his sister Kim finally beat leukemia following her decade-long battle, Keanu quietly created a charitable foundation dedicated to children's hospitals and cancer research. He reportedly donated 70% of his Matrix earnings, an estimated $31.5 million, to leukemia research. And it gets even messier. He never attached his name to the foundation. He told the Mercury News, "I have a private foundation that's been running for 5 or 6 years, and it helps aid a couple of children's hospitals and cancer research. I don't like to attach my name to it. I just let the foundation do what it does." This part left everyone stunned. The stories of his generosity are almost legendary now. He gave the stunt team on John Wick 4 personalized Rolex Submariner watches with heartfelt inscriptions. He gifted 12 stuntmen on the Matrix sequels Harley-Davidson motorcycles. When he heard a Matrix set builder was having financial problems, he quietly gave him a $20,000 bonus. In 2020, during the pandemic, he auctioned off a 15-minute Zoom call to raise money for a children's cancer charity. The winning bid was over $16,000. But this next twist? Game-changing. Stuntmen reportedly compete to work with him, not for the gifts, but because he treats them with respect that's rare in Hollywood. A source told Page 6, "Stunt guys are all dying to work with Keanu. It's because he takes them so seriously and credits them with helping contribute to his success." His co-star Hiroyuki Sanada said it simply. "He's so humble, very kind to others but very hard on himself." Lawrence Fishburne, who's known him since The Matrix, put it this way: "He's much kinder than people say he is. He's a very gentle, highly intelligent man. Really thoughtful and gifted, and incredibly patient. He has a lot of grace." Aziz Ansari, who directed him in Good Fortune, joked that Keanu actually is an angel who's been pretending to be human for all these other roles. It spirals from here, but in a good way. In 2019, after nearly 2 decades of keeping his romantic life private, Keanu appeared on a red carpet holding hands with artist Alexandra Grant. The internet collectively lost its mind. You won't believe what happened next. They'd actually known each other since 2009, collaborating on books, and eventually founding a publishing company together before the friendship became something more. In September 2024, when marriage rumors circulated, both Keanu and Alexandra clarified they weren't married, but Alexandra's Instagram message spoke volumes. To Keanu, who saw this post as a draft, "I am so grateful for your love and partnership." Sources close to the couple described their relationship as the most fun and positive relationship that Keanu has ever been in. When asked about his last moment of bliss in 2023, Keanu answered with uncharacteristic openness. "A couple of days ago with my honey, we were in bed, we were connected, we were smiling and laughing and giggling, feeling great. It was just really nice to be together." Here's where the truth hits hard. After everything, the absent father, the lost friend, the stillborn daughter, the woman he loved buried beside their child, Keanu Reeves found love again. Brace yourself for this one. In 2024, Keanu made a confession that shocked many fans. He told interviewers, "I'm thinking about death all the time." But before you worry, listen to how he finished that thought. That's a good thing. Hopefully it's not crippling, but hopefully it's sensitized us to an appreciation of the breath we have and the relationships that we have the potential to have. And then came the bombshell. "Grief changes shape, but it never ends," he once said. And in that simple truth lies the entire roadmap of his life. He's not trying to outrun his losses or pretend they don't exist. He carries them. The memory of River, the silence where Ava should have been, Jennifer's laugh that he'll never hear again, his sister's courage during those 10 brutal years, the body that served him faithfully and is now asking for mercy. This is where it all falls apart. Except it doesn't. Because Keanu has figured out something that most of us spend our whole lives searching for: how to carry grief without letting it poison you. At 61, he's still working, though on his own terms now. He voices Shadow in the Sonic the Hedgehog films. His band Dogstar is touring again. He's written graphic novels and poetry. He'll appear in the John Wick spin-off, Ballerina. But the punishing action schedules? The 12-week training regimens? The nights spent recovering in ice baths? Those days may be behind him. And maybe that's okay. The real chaos starts here. Because the legacy of Keanu Reeves was never really about the bullets he dodged or the armies he dismantled. It was about how he opened a door for a stranger, how he gave up his subway seat without being asked, how he sat with his dying sister and held her hand through the pain, how he loved people fiercely and lost them anyway, and chose to keep loving. So here's the question that matters. Would you want to see Keanu step into the John Wick suit one more time, even knowing what it costs him? Or do you hope he protects the body that's carried him through so much? Has his philosophy, that grief changes shape but never ends, ever touched your own life? Maybe reminded you of someone you loved and lost? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me about a time when Keanu's quiet strength helped you through something difficult. And if you believe, like I do, that stories like his deserve to be remembered and shared, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Because in a world full of noise, sometimes the quietest voices teach us the most.